Hi my freehand and pattern lovers, welcome back to my channel. It's Needles by Tiara here. In today's tutorial, we're going to be learning how to draft and cut this beautiful trendy crop top as displayed on the thumbnail. So if any of this looks like what you're interested in learning how to draft, cut and sew, then you certainly have to stick to this tutorial while we dive right into it. So here is my pattern paper well laid out. Please ensure that your pattern paper is on fold right. At the moment mine is not on fold, but once I transfer this into my fashion fabric, I would most definitely ensure that this point is on fold. Now roll out your starting line at this point. Having marked out your starting line, that is going to serve as your starting line as well as your shoulder point line, if that makes sense. So you're going to place your tape on the starting line, which happens to be your shoulder point. You're going to chalk down the distance between your shoulder to bust point, shoulder to under bust point, shoulder to front waist point, emphasis on the front waist point. Now to get the consistency and the accuracy of a straight line, take those measurements all the way down here. Now reintroduce a straight ruler, roll those points into each other to form your basic straight lines, just as I am doing at the moment. So having imputed or having basically marked out all our starting line, would move ahead to label our pattern. So this is the shoulder point, the bust point, the under bust point, and the front waist point, emphasis on the front waist point. Now before we proceed on, for the full length of this crop top, you can decide to use your half length, which is your front waist point, as the full length of this crop top, right? But for mine, I need a little bit of covering. So from the front waist point being my half length, I'm going to be coming down by 1.5 inches. So you can decide to come down by 2 inches or 1.5 inches. It is totally fine. You can as well still decide to use your half length, which happens to be the full length of your crop top, if that makes sense. So we'd label this point to be our extension line. So having imputed all of our basic point measurements, now we'd move ahead to impute our basic circumference measurement. At the shoulder point, divide your shoulder circumference by 2, chalk it down. Now before we proceed on, we're going to place our tape on the shoulder point. Now we're going to be chalking down the distance between our shoulder to chest point line. The mathematical formula for ascertaining that value is by dividing your bust circumference by 6 plus 1.5 inches, right? So I'm going to reintroduce my straight ruler, roll that point into a straight line. Now we're going to label this point to be our chest point line. I hope you understand. Having imputed all of our basic point measurements, now we'd move ahead to impute our circumference measurement. Like we stated earlier on, at the shoulder point, divide your shoulder circumference by 2, chalk it down. Whatever you have imputed at the shoulder point, please bring that same value down to the chest point line as well. Reintroduce your straight ruler, roll that point into a straight line. Now for our basic neckline width, I'm going to chalk down 3 inches, right? So our basic neckline width is 3 inches. Now from this point, we're going to come down by 1 inch for our shoulder slope. 3 inches neckline width, kindly remember, which is what we have at this point. Remember that we're not making a basic neckline, right? So we're not going to be imputing a depth of 3 inches. Rather, we're working with a Queen Anne neckline. So for that reason, I'm going to connect from my 3 inches neckline width down to the 1 inch to form our basic shoulder slope. Now place your tape on the shoulder slope down to the chest point. Fold your tape into 2, get the midpoint of that line. At the midpoint, come in by 0.5 inch. Lastly, at the chest point line, divide your bust circumference by 4 and chalk it down. Now reintroduce your armhole curve. Connect from your shoulder slope into the midpoint of 0.5 inch and extensively down to the chest point line. So please, while placing your armhole curves, ensure that it is well placed, right? So mine has a little bit of much depth, which we do not want. However, please ensure to place it properly. You'd get to understand this as we progress, right? So with that being said, at the bust point line, I'm going to divide my nipple to nipple by 2. Mine is 9 inches divided by 2 would leave us with the value of 4.5 inches. At the bust point, I'm going to chalk down that value. At my under bust, I'm going to impute that value. At the front waist point, I'll do same as well. At the extension line, I'm definitely going to be imputing that value. Now reintroduce your straight ruler, roll this point into each other to form your basic straight lines. Having gotten your dot line, now from the shoulder point line, you're going to measure out what you have, fold it into 2 to get the midpoint of that shoulder point line. Now reintroduce your straight ruler, connect from the midpoint of your shoulder point line down to your bust point this way. Now before we proceed on, I need you to understand this. The folded part of your pattern paper is called your center front, while this is called your side front, if that makes sense. The folded part is called your center front, while this is your side front. With that being done, my loves, at the under bust point, we're going to be imputing our basic under bust contour, right? So at the center front, I'm going to chalk down 1 inch. At the side front, I'm going to chalk down 1.5 inches. Now, if you're making this for a plus size, please kindly take note. If you're making this for a slimmer person, right, somebody that is not on a big side, at the center front, you're going to chalk down 0.75, and at the side front, you're going to chalk down 1 inch, if that makes sense. So I'm going to bring that value down to the extension line on both the center front and the side front. Now reintroduce my straight ruler, connect those points into each other to form my basic straight lines. Having done that, at the bust point line, place your tape, come down by 1 inch, right? Now reintroduce your curve ruler, connect from the 1 inch that you came down below your bust point into the under bust tightening that we have at the center front and that we have imputed at the side front. So please, I need you to pay attention to the placement of my curve ruler, right? Ensure it is situated on that 1 inch that you came down below your bust point. Take it all the way down to the under bust contour that you have at the center front. Please replicate that same process for the side front as well. So with this being done, my darlings, we've successfully imputed our under bust contour, right? Or the dart tightening to be precise. So I'm going to place my tape. So this is where you get to determine how off you want your off shoulder to be, right? So the basic value for your off shoulder, or the standard measurement rather, is 5 inches. If looking at the picture that we have displayed on the thumbnail, I'm going to be coming down for mine by 7 inches. I hope you understand. So 7 inches is exactly what we have as displayed on the thumbnail. Place your tape, come down by 7 inches, right? Roll that point into a straight line. Now move ahead to label this part to be your over bust point. So you can call this your over bust point or your off shoulder point. So just like we have the under bust tightening, we're definitely going to be tightening the over bust point as well. So at the center front, you're going to chalk down 0.75. At the side front, 0.75 as well. So if you're making this for somebody that is on a slimmer side, you're going to be imputing 0.5 inch on both sides. I hope you understand. So with that being said, my loves, we're going to reintroduce our straight ruler. So you can use your straight ruler or the part that is a bit slanted for your curve ruler. Take it from the 0.75 imputed at the over bust point all the way back to your bust point this way. So we've done that for the center front. Would most definitely replicate that same process for the side front as well. So having imputed our over bust tightening as well as our under bust tightening, now the next thing we're going to proceed on to imputing is the sweetheart neckline. So we have a little bit of a sweetheart neckline, right, for this particular crop top. So at this point, this is where you get to determine how deep you want this to be, right? So from the bust point, place your tape. You can come up by 2 inches or 2.5 inches as the case may be. I hope you understand. Or as well, you can place your tape at the over bust point and come down by 1 inch or 1.5 inches. So I came down with mine by 1.5 inches from the over bust point. So I'm going to reintroduce my curve ruler, connect from the center front dart all the way in to that 1.5 inches for our sweetheart neckline curves. But before we do that, remember that the dart line is not straight, right? So we have to ensure that what we have on both sides of the dart leg is equal. The over bust dart curve is equal, right? So I'm taking the measurement of this point and I'm going to ensure that I have that same value imputed on the center front as well, if that makes sense. So ensure that both sides is equal. As you can see, this part is shorter, so I'm going to replace the shortage on the shorter side of the over bust dart, if that makes sense. So having done that, I've connected it all the way up. So with that being said, remember, like I stated earlier on, for the depth of your sweetheart neckline curve, I came down with mine by 1.5 inches from the over bust point line. So I'm going to place my curve ruler, connecting from the center front over bust dart tightening back into that 1 inch to form our basic sweetheart neckline curves, if that makes sense. So you can see how beautiful this is looking, right? So this is the perfection you definitely want to achieve for yours as well. Now moving on, we're going to be imputing our Queen Anne neckline, right? So this was what I stated earlier on. For the Queen Anne neckline, you're going to place your tape at the over bust and come in by 2 inches. So you can decide to do 2 inches, 3 inches, that is totally fine. If you want what we have exactly as displayed on the thumbnail, I'm going to advise you come in by 2 inches, right? So for mine, I came in by 2.5 inches, which I later altered to 2 inches, if that makes sense. So I'm going to reintroduce my straight ruler, connect from the 3 inches neckline width all the way down to that 2 inches that we have imputed at the over bust point line. I hope you understand. So with this being done, my darlings, we've successfully imputed our Queen Anne neckline, right? So like I said, you can decide to come in by 2 inches, 2.5 inches, as the case may be. For mine, I'm going to be coming in by 2 inches. I hope you understand. I came in by 2.5 inches, which I later altered to 2 inches. Now to eliminate every form of gaping, at that over bust point line, you're going to come up by 0.25 on the Queen Anne neckline, if that makes sense. So come up by 0.25. Now reintroduce your straight ruler, connect from that 0.25 all the way back into the sides of your armhole this way. I hope you understand. So this point that I'm shading off, I'm going to be taking it off. So that is to eliminate every form of gaping for your Queen Anne neckline. You need it to sit very beautifully. I hope you understand. At the chest point line, divide your bust circumference by 4, chalk it down. Now measure out the dart that you have in between, right, at that point, and replace it on the side this way. At the bust point line, I'm going to divide my bust circumference by 4, chalk it down, and replace the dart as well. So basically, whatever we have on the chest point, we'll bring it down to the bust point, right? At the under bust point, divide your under bust circumference by 4, measure out the dart, and replace it on the side. At your front waist point, divide your waist circumference by 4, chalk it down, measure out the dart, and replace it on the sides as well. So at the extension line, you're going to equally divide your waist circumference by 4, chalk it down at that point, measure out the dart, and replace it on the sides as well. I hope you understand. So we're going to reintroduce our straight ruler, connect from the chest point all the way down to the extension line this way. So with this being done, my darling, you can notice that there's a shift right at the under bust point. That is totally fine. Do not bother about that, right? So with this being done, my darlings, our pattern is partly ready. So we're going to move ahead to impute our side dart, right? So what then is our side dart? Your side dart is the difference between your client shoulder to front waist point and your client shoulder to back waist point. I hope you understand. Your shoulder to front waist point and your shoulder to back waist point aren't the same. There's a picture currently displaying on the screen on how to take that basic measurement. So with that being said, my loves, let's basically move ahead to do that mathematical calculations together. So the formula for determining your side dart is this. So please, I need you to pay attention to this point, right? So to determine your side dart, you're going to be needing your client shoulder to front waist point and your client shoulder to back waist point. I hope you understand. My client shoulder to front waist point is 18 inches, while my client shoulder to back waist point is 16 inches, right? So you can see that the shoulder to front waist point and the back waist point aren't the same. So to get our side dart, we're going to subtract those two values from each other. 18 inches minus 16 inches will leave us with the value of 2 inches. So it is safe to say that this 2 inches automatically becomes our side dart, right? The difference between the shoulder to front waist point and the shoulder to back waist point for mine is 2 inches, which automatically becomes my side dart. Please kindly take note, this value is not constant. Yours could be 1 inch, 1.5 inches, or even 2 inches, as the case may be. Whatever it is, please work with that. I hope you understand. Now place your tape on the bust point, come down by your side dart, which mine is 2 inches. Now reintroduce your straight ruler, connect from the 2 inches side dart into your bust point line this way. I hope you understand. So with that being done, my loves, we've successfully imputed our side dart, right? So I'm going to be shading off every part that we're going to be eliminating off from our pattern, which is our under bust dart. I'm going to be taking that off, our side dart as well as the over bust dart. I hope you understand. So every shaded part of this pattern paper is where we're going to be taking off, or basically eliminating off from our pattern. Now before we move ahead to eliminate every part, let's first of all take off our side dart. So cut off the excesses on the lower region. With that being done, we're going to carefully cut through the midpoint of the under bust dart all the way up to the bust point this way. Please do not exceed your bust point. Once you get to the bust point, stop at that point. Now we're going to cut through the side dart all the way into the bust point. Ensure that it is very close to the bust point. Do not cut into the bust point as well, if that makes sense. Having cut through this point, now the next thing we're going to do is to overlap this dart on top of each other. So I'm going to take the lower base of my top and I'm going to overlap it on the bust point line this way. So let's do this all over again. Take from the lower base of your pattern and overlap it on your bust point this way. So you can either go in with your masking tape to hold it down in place, or if you have a water gum like mine, just spread it all the way around your side darts, just like we did earlier on. Take from the lower base and overlap it on your bust point line this way. I hope you understand. Ensure to press it down in place. I hope you understand. So with this being done, my darlings, we've successfully imputed our side dart. So you would notice that there's a shift right on the sides. We're definitely going to be augmenting for that shortage by reintroducing our straight ruler, blending it all the way up. So with that being done, we've augmented for the shortage. Now if you look closely at the bust point line, it is looking a bit sharp, right? So I'm definitely going to reintroduce my curve ruler and blend that point all the way in. You need to smoothen out that point. You do not need your bust point looking sharp. Having augmented for the shortage as well as smoothing out the bust point line, now we're going to move ahead to eliminate all of our basic excesses, starting from the under bust dart tightening. I hope you understand. Please, I need you to pay attention to each and every part that I'm going to be taking off from this pattern. I hope you understand. Please pay close attention and do go ahead to replicate same for yours as well. So if you have watched this tutorial to this point, it certainly means that you're getting value for your time well spent on this video. As a little way of encouraging us to do more for the sewing community, kindly hit on the subscription button, like and follow for more of this related content. So with that being done, we're going to carefully cut through, following out the sweetheart curve that we have imputed at that point, right? Now with that being said, I'm going to detach the center front over bust dart this way by cutting through that point. Having gotten our center front, now would move ahead to take off the excesses that we have at the Queen Anne neckline point. I hope you understand. With that being said, we're going to take this off. Now we're going to be eliminating our side front over bust dart tightening. I hope you understand. So with that being done, my darling, I'm going to equally detach this yoke from the lower base of our top, right, and take off this point this way. Moving on, we're going to be taking off the shoulder slope, cutting through, following out the shoulder slope point, right? Now we're going to be following out our armhole curve. So pay attention to what I'm doing, right? Take through your armhole curve. So this was the more reason why I said you need to ensure that your armhole curve is properly placed, right? You do not want this point looking very, very wide like mine at the moment, right? So you need to ensure that it is properly placed. While I transfer this into my fashion fabric, I'm definitely going to be augmenting for that point. I hope you understand. Carefully take off the excesses, and you can see how beautiful our pattern is looking at this point. Very beautiful. You can see our under bust dart tightening, the curve seated, very beautiful, the over bust dart, everything is literally giving everything it is supposed to give and more. So with that being said, my darlings, we're definitely going to keep this aside while we move ahead to work on the back pattern of our top. So here is my pattern paper well laid out for the drafting of the back pattern. So for the back pattern, I need you to take note of the fact that this is definitely going to have a zipper, right? So for that reason, we're going to be imputing a zipper allowance of 1.5 inches. You can do 2 inches as well. Gradually take it all the way down. Now reintroduce your straight ruler, connect those points into each other to form your basic straight lines, just as I am doing. Now label this point to be your zipper allowance point, right? Reintroduce your straight ruler, mark out your starting line at that point, which will equally serve as your shoulder point line as well. Having imputed our starting line, now would move ahead to impute all of our basic point measurements. Place your tape on the shoulder point line. Chalk down the distance between your shoulder to bust point. Now, there is no need for your shoulder to the under bust point since the back pattern doesn't have the present of the bust, right? Remember, for our back waist point, it is 16 inches as compared to the front pattern, which is 18 inches. I hope you understand. So with that being said, we're going to be chalking down the distance between our shoulder to back waist point being 16 inches. I hope you understand. Now, to get the consistency and the accuracy of a straight line, I'm going to be taking that measurement all the way down here. Reintroduce your straight ruler, roll that point into a straight line, just as I am doing at the moment. With that being done, my darlings, we're going to extend it all the way down to the zipper. Label this to be your shoulder point, your bust point line, your back waist point. Emphasis on the back waist point line, right? So with that being said, my darling, place your tape on the shoulder point, chalk down the distance between your shoulder to chest point line. Whatever value that you did imputed for the front part of your pattern, you're definitely going to be imputing that same value as the distance between your shoulder to chest point line for your back pattern as well. I hope you understand. So with that being done, we're going to reintroduce our straight ruler, roll that point into a straight line. Now move ahead to label this point to be your chest point line. I hope you understand. With that being done, we'll move ahead to impute all of our basic circumference measurements, right? At the shoulder point, remember that whatever you're doing must start from the line that demarcates the zipper from the main pattern. I hope you understand. All your measurements start from that line, right? At the shoulder point, divide your shoulder circumference by 2, chalk it down. Bring down that same value to your chest point line. Now reintroduce your straight ruler, connect that point into a straight line this way. For your basic neckline width, just like we imputed for the front pattern, it was 3 inches, right? So for the back pattern, we're going to be imputing 3 inches as well. Now for the back neckline depth, we're not going to be using a queen and neckline for the back, so we're just going to come down by either 1 inch or 1.5 inches, which is our basic neckline depth. I hope you understand. Now reintroduce your curve ruler, connect it all the way in to form your basic back neckline curve. I hope you understand. Now place your tape at this point, come down by 1 inch for your shoulder slope. Connect from the 3 inches neckline width all the way down to form your shoulder slope this way. Place your tape from the shoulder slope down to the chest point. Fold your tape into 2. Find the midpoint of that line. Now you can decide to come in at this point by 0.5 inch. You can still decide not to. That is totally fine, right? But either way, let's come in by 0.5 inch. At the chest point line, divide your bust circumference by 4, chalk it down. Now reintroduce your armhole curve, connect from your shoulder slope into the midpoint and extensively down to the chest point line, just as I am doing at the moment. So with that being done, my loves, at the back waist point, remember that for the front waist point, we imputed an extension line of 1.5 inches, right? Because we want a covering. So for the back point, we're definitely going to impute that same value of 1.5 inches. At the back waist point, come down by 1.5 inches. Now reintroduce your straight ruler, roll those points into each other to form your basic straight line. Now label this part to be your extension line, right? So with that being done, my darling, at the back waist point, please kindly take note, at the back waist point, we're going to be imputing our basic dart tightening, right? So for your basic dart, you're going to divide your nipple to nipple by 2, which mine is 9 inches divided by 2 would leave us with the value of 4.5 inches, right? At the back waist point, I'm going to be chalking down that measurement. I'm going to bring that same measurement up to the bust point line as well. And I'm going to take that same measurement down to the extension line as well. Now reintroduce your straight ruler, roll those points into each other to form your basic straight line. Now at the back waist point, to impute our basic dart tightening, come in by 0.5 inch on both the center front and at the side front on both sides of your dart leg. I hope you understand. At the back waist point, coming by 0.5 inch on both the center front and side front. Now reintroduce your straight ruler, connect from that 0.5 inch up to your bust point on both the center front and the side front as well. Now remember that we have an extension, right? So we'd have to extend that line into the extension as well. So I have 0.5 inch, right? I'm going to bring it down to the extension on both the center front and the side front. Now reintroduce my straight ruler, extend that line all the way down this way. I hope you understand. So with that being done, we've imputed our basic dart tightening. So we're going to move ahead to impute all of our basic circumference measurements. At the chest point, divide your bust circumference by 4, chalk it down. At the bust point, divide your bust circumference by 4, chalk it down. At the back waist point, divide your waist circumference by 4, chalk it down. Remember that we have a dart, right? So please save and replace that dart on the sides. At the extension line, divide your waist circumference divided by 4, chalk it down. Please save and replace the dart on the sides. I hope you understand. Now reintroduce your straight ruler, connect from your chest point down to your extension line this way. So it is safe to say that the back part of our crop top is partly ready, right? So the next thing we're going to be doing is to extend the back neckline depth all the way into the zipper this way. So with that being said, my loves, we're definitely going to be eliminating rather the zipper bulge. So to do that, at the back waist point, coming by 0.5 inch, at the extension line, coming by 0.5 inch as well. Now reintroduce your straight ruler, connect from the 0.5 inch imputed at the back waist point on the zipper allowance point all the way up to the back neckline depth this way. I hope you understand. Please pay attention to the placement of my straight ruler and do go ahead to replicate same for yours. Extend it all the way down to your extension line this way. So with that being done, my darlings, we've successfully eliminated our zipper bulge. So our zip is going to relax perfectly on the back pattern of our crop top, if that makes sense. So with that being said, this shaded part is the point that we're going to be taking off from our pattern. I hope you understand. So with that being said, my loves, our pattern is partly ready, right? Now moving on, before we eliminate all of the side excesses, I need you to understand that I do not want any darts. I do not want to basically take this dart directly on my fashion fabric. Rather, I want to eliminate this dart on my pattern so that once I transfer it to my fashion fabric, the dart has already been held down. So to be able to achieve that, I'm going to be cutting through this dart leg. So I'm going to take from the lower base on one side of the dart, take it all the way up to the bust point. Once you get to the bust point, please stop at that point, right? Now I'm going to go in with my gum and spread it all the way around the darts that we have on this point. I hope you understand. Please pay attention to what I'm doing, right? With that being said, now we're going to take from this point and overlap it on the dart, right? Please pay attention to what I'm doing. This is very, very important. Very, very important, like I said. So I'm going to take from one part of this and overlap it on the dart. So you need to eliminate this dart directly off from your fashion fabric. So this is not something that you be in a hurry while doing. Just take your time while at this to achieve the same beautiful perfection for yours as well. I hope you understand. So with that being done, my darling, we've successfully eliminated our darts directly off from our pattern, right? I hope you understand. So you can see this point looking as though it is giving us this bust curve. Don't worry, there is no problem. Once we transfer that to our fashion fabric, we're definitely going to hold that point down, right? So you can see that there's a shift at the extension line. So I'm going to augment for that shift by reintroducing our straight ruler to straighten that line this way. So with that being done, my loves, we're just going to go in with our scissors and take off these excesses. We're going to move ahead to take off the neckline curves as well. Please pay attention to every part that I'm eliminating off from this pattern, and do go ahead to replicate same for yours as well.
Needles by Tiara, where elegance meets creativity, crafting luxury, beauty and confidence through timeless feminine fashion.
Having Having eliminated our excesses, you can see how beautiful our back pattern is looking. The neckline, you can see the well eliminated zipper bolt situated very beautifully at every point. So like I stated earlier on, once we are going to be placing this directly on our fashion fabric, would ensure that that point is well laid, if that makes sense. So with that being said, my love, you can see how beautiful, how stunning, how perfect the entire part of our piece came out looking. You can see our well imputed underbust cuff, you can see the overbust cuff, you can see the queen and neckline, you can see the armhole, you can see how every point is situated very beautifully, right? So this is the absolute perfection you definitely want to achieve for yours as well, if that makes sense. So for all of your basic required sewing allowance, this is what you're going to be doing. So for this point, remember that it is going to be on fold, right? Now at this bust cuff, you're going to be imputing 0.5 inch at the center front and the side front. At this point, 0.5 inch at the armhole, 0.5 inch on the lower base, 0.5 inch as well. For our queen and neckline, 0.5 inch all the way round, right? So for the side front seam allowance, you're going to be imputing 1 inch. I hope you understand. So you can do 1 inch or 1.5 inches. Kindly take note, whatever you impute as the side front allowance for the front part, you're definitely going to be imputing same for the back part as well. I hope you understand. So this is it for the front pattern, right? Now moving on to the back pattern, these are all the basic sewing allowance required. Remember, for the zipper part, we have the zipper allowance, right? On the neckline, 0.5 inch, shoulder slope 0.5 inch, armhole 0.5 inch. For the side seam, for the back side seam, you're going to be imputing the same value that you have imputed for the front part. So if you have 1 inch imputed at the front part, please ensure to use that same 1 inch at the back part as well. For the lower base, 0.5 inch. So those are all the basic required sewing allowance needed for the making of this beautiful trendy crop top as displayed on the thumbnail. So with that being said, my loves, we've come to the end of the drafting and the cutting of our beautiful trendy crop top as displayed on the thumbnail. So on my next video, I am definitely going to be teaching you how to sew every part of this perfectly. Thank you, and I'm definitely going to be seeing you on our next tutorial. Turn on your post notification button to be the first to get notified once that tutorial drops on our channel. Bye.